And welcome to episode 75 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean, editor-in-chief of the site. I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor, Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing this week, Todd?
I'm good.
Good. We're only 50 weeks away from CES 2017.
That's right.
That's how I measure all time in my world now.
Yeah, and we just booked Mobile World Congress, which will be pretty much exactly a month from now.
Good grief. Once it starts, it just keeps coming, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, even though it's only January, we need to start talking iPhone 7.
Yes.
Love my segue there.
I think it works. Sure.
Yeah. So the big rumor this week is that the code for future versions of iOS state, hey, no headphone jack.
Yeah. It was yesterday, the code in iOS 9.3 beta 1.1, which is like it was like the update to the beta 1 for iOS 9.3 that was released a little while ago. In it has this line of code. Headphones have percentage input. So do the headphones have input? No. Which is really interesting. So this was published by somebody, I believe he was working on jailbreaking.
Right.
On Twitter. And basically it sort of suggests that the code's like not looking to see if there's headput input or whatever. At least that's the way I read it, which fits with all the other rumors that have already said, Apple's probably going to ditch the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, go for a super thin design, so instead you either use presumably Lightning port, which I think the ones that exist now are already pretty expensive, or just go right to Bluetooth, which makes sense. Using Bluetooth for that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's so many other scenarios where like you have headphones, right? Like I bought these because I can use them for this podcast and I use them on the plane. And I don't know, I feel like if you're just going right to Bluetooth, like, okay, you get rid of the wires, it's super convenient, but then you also have to worry about one more thing that you have to charge. And I have Bluetooth headphones that I do like for flights, but I find all the time I forgot to charge them or something like that.
Right, and I use Bose QC25s. I'm not going to want to ditch my expensive headphones because, oh no, my iPhone no longer works with. Although I rarely use headphones with my iPhone, it's primarily with my iPad. But still, the idea that we could be moving now, wasn't there a patent a while back for an adapter?
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I think there was, or something like that, which would make sense. Apple could sell it for $30.
Exactly. And of course, they could sell it for $30. And of course, there's another freaking dongle that you have to keep track of that you could potentially lose. So it's another piece of equipment to carry with you. I don't know. And this brings up an interesting question from Sachin Bahal. Do you think the iPhone 7 will have a Lightning port or a USB Type-C port? I'd
like to see them go Lightning, but they haven't done it before. I mean, they haven't done on their phones adapted, they went 30 pin to Lightning, so they didn't ever go USB-C. But then you look at products like the MacBook where they have USB-C and sort of we're pushing for it and acting like they're, leading the push because it's the future anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
USB-C makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I think that's the way they should go.
And of course, Apple wouldn't. This anymore. Apple would never, release a phone this year with Lightning and sell you an adapter, and then a year later change, things so that adapter was no longer correct. I mean, that's not something Apple has ever done in the past.
Right.
The sarcasm was thick on that one, folks. But let me address this real quick from Jeff K. Did we really piss you guys off with the comment section? No, we're not sure what's happening. For some reason, on technobuffalo.com right now, no comments are going directly onto the site. They're all going into moderation. We don't know why. We are looking into it. We think somehow a setting got changed, but we are working. We are working on it. I went through this morning and approved like 500 comments from over the past 24 hours. So yes, we are not sure what's going on. The comments are not going away. We are looking into it, and hopefully it will be fixed sometime this morning. So just a quick bit of housekeeping there. Thank you for asking about that, Jeff. So yeah, I mean, I think they're going to stick with Lightning. I do think there's a good chance they're going to get rid of the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which it won't break my heart to never have to say again, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack.
Right.
But I would not put this past Apple in the least. I mean, if you look at their laptops, okay, they got rid of the optical drives, so they could go thinner. They got rid of the Ethernet ports, so they could go thinner. They have no hesitation about getting rid of inputs and outputs to make their devices thinner.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at mine now. Like, imagine it could be so thin, but then, we've talked about this before. The battery life, what happens there? Camera modules are still large. So, you still have to, I guess you could have a little bump in the top or something. But I feel like I'm just looking at it now. I mean, I'm not the one who's like, oh, I wish my phone was thinner. But maybe it's because I haven't held a phone that could be. I mean, if you look at it, it would be like wafer thin.
Yeah,
and you got a blending issue now.
And even with the the iPhone 6 Plus, I put mine in a giant case so I can hold on to it. I don't think
beat people with it like you're doing.
Yeah. So, I feel like even the iPhone 6 Plus was too thin for me.
Okay.
And so going even thinner, it just okay. I'll just keep buying Otter boxes.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at so here's the Nexus 6P. And like, I don't know, that's not even the fattest thing on this, like the headphone jack. I mean, you've got the camera module again, obviously is coming out pretty far because then it slopes down. And then the bottom's USB-C. I mean, I guess USB-C is just slightly thinner. Or, I mean, not as thin. I don't know. It's lighting. I don't know. I feel like this is good enough. Let's keep it thick for the battery life. That's the most important thing.
Hey, Jeff, I just saw your message. Send me an email at Sean and with whatever your discuss username is, and I'll look into that. So moving on down the road to other phone rumors that we're hearing, the LG G5. Okay, so we saw the one design that had like the removable bottom and the battery slipped out.
Yeah, that was funky.
That was funky and interesting, but now it looks like they're doing something else.
Yeah, well, there's always been this talk of like modularity. So with this G5, so possibly it sounded like there was a special port or some kind of thing that allowed extra accessories. So like something like a virtual reality headset, which, by the way, Samsung just uses the micro USB port on its phones for that. So that seems like, I mean, especially with USB-C, there's enough data for that to just work. But I don't know. So there was like talk of this extra sort of part that allowed extra accessories, and that was the modularity. And then we saw that battery thing that was first published by CNET, I think. And it was just like, it looked like the phone was sort of the shell and the battery would slide in and out. Like you could, oh, here's a new battery, just pop it in, almost like a cartridge, which to me seems like very 1980s tech. Like, I don't know. I just
want to wear a bandolero of batteries.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Chewbacca.
Like you just have them around.
Yeah, you hit the button, it just ejects like a magazine out of a pistol. You slap in a new battery. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that felt like. Oh, and then, okay, here it's called the Magic Slot. I have it up in front of me. That was the original one that I was talking about with the accessories and stuff. So, I don't know if we have any examples besides what I think was virtual reality. So that was one, and then we've seen just what we've called a radical new design, which is to say that LG, I think it was very radical when it first introduced the power button on the back and the volume controls. Now it's almost like going away from that, and the latest schematics show just what appears to be a fingerprint reader on the back, very similar to the Nexus 6P, and then the camera module on the back too. And going back to that camera module, there were discussions about it being like a dual lens setup. And right now, it's so hard to tell when you look at these sort of renders and to report on, aside from like what we're hearing in the rumors, because when you look at the back of a phone like that, and then you look at the back of, I don't think I have like the G4 on my desk, but you look at the back of that, and it's got like that laser autofocus area Like there's so many different things that you don't like. It looks like two lenses maybe until it comes out, and you don't know for sure. But that's the rumor, dual lens, and sometimes that's good for, we saw it on the M8 from HTC, but you take a picture and you can adjust it after the fact and stuff like that.
Well, we got a question / comment from Jeff K. I don't buy the G5 leak of the module sliding out from the bottom. I just think it's too radical. And I tend to agree. I don't know. I mean, LG has definitely gone out on a limb before, like moving the power button to the back, along with the volume controls. I'm currently carrying a G3 on one of my lines. And honestly, I don't like the power button on the back. I'm never going to get used to it. Yes, I know that's where your finger rests. And that's part of where the problem lies, is I'm constantly hitting the volume buttons and I don't mean to.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't put it past LG to try something radical and different, but will they actually? Who knows?
Right. Well, the funny thing is that it's a radical redesign from what was already a radical redesign. And the fact is, I mean, this is not radical. It's just back to normal. The funny thing, when you look at the schematics we ran on the 18th, which was 2 days ago, it looks like any other phone on the market, almost like an HTC sort of Huawei hybrid, I think, when I look at it.
If they do this, though, we have to film a video in slow motion, like you always see in action movies, where somebody they run out of ammo and they drop the clips.
Oh yeah,
they slap in a new clip,
pop in the battery.
Yeah, so we got to do this like slow motion, leaping over a couch, ejecting the battery.
Yeah. I mean, that's the weirdest thing, because really, okay, replaceable batteries are great. Like, I like them too. But at the end of the day, I'd just rather have a phone that charges quickly and has a long battery life. I don't want to have to replace the battery. I'd rather plug it in for 15 minutes and just go, where we're at, instead of carrying around like whatever, another battery in my backpack, which I used to do with the Galaxy Note 4, I guess, was the last time I would do that.
I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of theories out there, and we've kept saying that somebody's got to change up the design. They've got to change, away from the black slab. But was this where we meant for them to go? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right
now, I think I'm most excited for what Galaxy S7, which is our segue there.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be, if Samsung sort of just takes what they have now, the Galaxy S6, improve the camera doesn't need improvement, I don't think, but it's like the industry's looking for that every single year, right? Like, make it better, even though, I mean, I was looking through some photos last night that I'd taken this fall, and I have them on Google Photos, and they're all mixed up, and I thought some of them were ones that I had shot with my DSLR, but they were shot with the S6 Edge Plus, I think. And I was like, whoa, I mean, like, that's a great camera. And I was looking at them on my monitor here, which is 32 inches. So I don't think Samsung really needs to improve that. But I do think they need to add just the smaller things like the micro SD card, especially now that it's supported natively in Marshmallow. I'd love that in the next phone. And that, there's talk of all kinds of other things that they're doing. But
we did have one question about the G5, which has been asked multiple times, from Princeton Abdusalam, I believe. How much will the LG G5 cost? We have no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
More than $1.
It'll be a flagship price.
Yeah. So probably $600 to $700 range off contract, somewhere in there. Yeah. So the other topic we wanted to touch on this week was the rise of original streaming content. Be it any of Netflix's original shows like Daredevil and of course Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, House of Cards. And Hulu's gotten into it by resurrecting the Mindy Project. Amazon has shows like The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah.
So all these streaming services are coming out with original content. Netflix in particular is planning on doing over 600 hours of original programming this year at the unbelievable cost of $6 billion. That's billion with a B. And just yesterday, their earnings report came out. And how much did they make last quarter?
I don't know what profits were. Total revenue was 1.82 billion, compared with 1.49 billion a year ago, fourth quarter. So that's, I mean, if we're just sticking with the 1.5 because it's the softer number and easier for math for me, you're looking at like a year of revenues.
Yeah, that's insanity. How? Okay, so Netflix doesn't take advertising. Those of us that are grandfathered into the old pricing, we're about to lose that, which they warned us a long time ago. And there's no. How are they going to make that $6 billion back? It makes no sense.
Yeah, but I think it's another figure they added: 5.59 million net subscribers just in the quarter. So they added, 5.5 million people, and that's before. I mean, that this quarter does not include their global expansion,
right? Which happened at CES,
right,
and will continue to happen throughout the year. So yeah, they're going to add a lot of subscribers, but still, I mean, we're talking pennies. Over the 6 billion. I don't get it. I mean, I'm thrilled. Netflix is making quality shows.
Yeah. So many now that I feel like we were talking about this, like there's just too many to watch. I mean, which is great. But because it takes, you look at, and we were talking before the show, and I'll read this quote, but you look at TV these days and you turn it on. When I don't even know why I pay for cable anymore, aside for sports, but I turn it on and I'm like, I don't even know what I want to watch. And I could do the same thing on Netflix and be like, I don't know what I want to watch, and find something. I can't always sit on TV. And so that's why I like this quote. It was from the LA Times earlier this week. It's every single day in my company, and I know in other companies, there's a question of, did we do something to build a monster that will come back and kill us? And that was a quote from NBC Universal Research President Alan Wurtzel, which is crazy because it's true.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's totally true. I mean, these companies saw a quick way to make a buck on their back catalog, which makes total sense. What they didn't realize, though, was they were building up the revenues of a monster that would eventually come back and go, hey, guess what?
Yeah, and we can do it this much better, infinitely better. And in fact, Netflix, don't forget about this, they still have millions of people renting DVDs, which blows my mind because it's almost like I forget that
it was around 4.5 million or so. Which, hey, more power to them. Although I'm sure Reed Hastings is sitting around going, "Will you people please stop renting DVDs?"
Yeah, right. let's get rid of that. Well, remember when? What was it called when he split the company in two? He had another company that was going to do, and he could have just,
I can't remember the name of it, but it was so bad.
It was too early though, because everybody was like, "What the heck? That's so stupid." I think I remember thinking, "That's so stupid."
Yeah. And
now it's like, yeah, of course, like kill that side of the business. I don't know what it does for the actual numbers, but me looking into the future, like, why would you have that? I think he knows it too. That's probably why I tried to split them up so he could just kill one later.
Well, yeah, and we've got a lot of questions here about Netflix, and Jeff K brings up a point here. I think Netflix is underpriced, believe it or not. I think when you look at the content you get, it's just crazy that someone could expect to pay less than $10 a month.
Yeah.
Netflix really is king right now in my book. They just need to update their app on my smart TV. Yeah, I know some smart TVs are way behind.
It's terrible, but I use it all the time. But I agree. I think it is sort of underpriced, and I wouldn't be surprised to see different pricing tiers in the future depending on what you want. But the one feature that I really want to see on Netflix is offline storage. I think we've talked about that before, but you get it from Amazon Prime. I just want to be able to save, like 6 episodes. I think, something like what Amazon Prime does. They limit you, but just so I can get on a plane or, go somewhere. Well, I was in a cabin earlier this year and we didn't have a good signal, but I had offline storage.
Yeah, before I went to the UK, I had watched the first 2 episodes of The Man in the High Castle on Amazon. So I know you can do 8 episodes because I took episodes 3 through 10 with me.
Okay.
And that was great. I was able to watch it wherever I want. And Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, we're not really sure that's a feature people want. You and I have already done it.
Yeah. It's a feature that I want. And I talked to another journalist who had dinner with him at CES. And I asked him, I was like, did you get a chance to ask about like offline playback? And the guy's like, no, man, I forgot to ask him. Like that was the one thing. So that's one, I would like to see that feature.
I would love to see that feature. I mean, Because like when a new season of a Marvel show comes out, I had to rush through Jessica Jones because I was about to leave for the UK.
Uh-huh.
I would like to have been able to just gone, oh, no problem, I'll just take some of them with me.
Right.
And I understand piracy concerns and all that, but Amazon figured it out.
Yeah.
So why can't Netflix? It doesn't make any sense to me, but Sachin Bahal asks, is streaming the future of TV? I think so. I think the idea of appointment television is dead. And that happened back, even with VHS, and then into the DVR and all that. But the idea of watching television when somebody tells you to watch television, or even watching a season when somebody tells you to watch a season, is so outmoded at this point.
It's so weird to even think about it that way. At least for me, I don't even know the last time I sat down to. I mean, again, aside from sports games, because you like watching them live, because spoilers are immediate,
right?
And something like the debates recently, like I feel like that's kind of a live thing. It doesn't have to be, but it's something you might sit down in front of your TV for at a certain time. But other than that, yeah, it's like I don't know the last time. I remember as a kid, obviously, you'd sit down and be like, "The Simpsons are on at this time," and TGIF and like all these. Now it's just not like that.
Well, and as somebody that cut the cord last May, now I simply think of, okay, yes, The Flash airs on Tuesdays on the CW, but to me, I'm just like, oh, it's Wednesday, new episode of The Flash.
Yeah, like you might know the schedule and you're like, oh, it's coming, and like maybe I'll sit down for it, but it's like I feel like there's no there, and there hasn't been for years, like this need to sit there at that time.
Yeah, the only thing with Hulu is they only keep like 5 episodes of some shows, so that's not that big of a deal. I simply make sure I watch it within the 5 weeks.
Right.
The concerning thing to me is there's this rumor going around that the CW is going to leave Hulu and start their own app. And the problem is, if more and more companies do that, then we're going to have a problem, because it'll be just like cable. I'm not going to subscribe to 18 streaming services.
Yeah, and I think they'll start to see that, and then it'll come together again almost. Like, that's why I think these services like Netflix make the most sense, and Amazon, and where you just have, like, if you go to Amazon, you can search for various shows that they have the rights to. Like, that's like, I want to call it a conglomerate. I think it's gonna have to come down to that for the exact same reason you just said. Like, why would I pay $10 for, say, the CW app when I'm paying $10 for Netflix that has like infinitely more content?
Right.
Like, they should just figure out a licensing deal themselves.
Although luckily the rumor for the CW is only $2 to $4 a month, which is probably $2 to $4 more than you should be paying for the CW.
Yeah.
Even though I watch multiple CW shows, even I'm like, I just want to know where the farm is that they grow all these actors on.
Yeah, right.
They have all these gorgeous actors that you've never seen anywhere else that just suddenly appear in their shows. And so I picture this, orchard with a tree, and they just walk down, and oh, you look like you'll be fine for Arrow.
Perfect. Yeah. That's funny.
It's harvest season, but oh, good grief. Well, we've got a lot of questions, so let's jump into them here and see what is going on this week. From Nate Vlogs, do you think it's a problem that Apple doesn't have 4K on their Apple TVs?
Not yet. I don't think it's
not yet. Although that does, at this point, anything that's not future-proof does concern me.
Yeah, but Apple seems to be that company where people let it slide with that future-proofing stuff, Like,
I know.
It always happens that way. But then, and I want to be careful how I say this, because I know I can tick people off. But if you look at it like fingerprint readers, right? Like, other people had fingerprint readers. Apple did it very, very well when they introduced Touch ID, and now it's even better. But then you have companies that come after Apple, like look at Huawei with the Mate 8 fingerprint reader is awesome, it's super fast. Okay, then look at 4K. Apple doesn't really have an excuse there, because like, what's it going to do to make it better, right? Like everybody else has 4K already, or some other competitors have 4K already, and you would say, well, Apple's going to come in and make it better, maybe, but they're not going. Like, there's no. Like, how could you possibly improve on that? And I think that's why it's a problem that Apple doesn't have 4K now, because it's like you can't let that slide.
Yeah, I'm sure the next iteration. And look, we've added 4K, something every other streaming box has had for years now.
Exactly. It's not like, but they might, they'll try to call it like 4K plus.
No.
Well, yeah. But I can't figure what that plus would be right now to like say, okay, that was worth the wait, where it has been worth the wait on things like, fingerprint readers, or I mean, even NFC in some regards, because NFC, I feel like people don't really use that often unless it's for payments, and Apple did it really well with payments at first. And I know people share music and pair Bluetooth devices and stuff like that. Like I use Android too, but I'm saying I think they did some things better because they waited, and I can't see how they're going to do this one better.
Well, we've got a couple questions coming in over on Twitter today from Daniel Jeweld. The new Samsung Galaxy Tab Pro S has USB Type-C and a magnesium alloy frame. Do you think we will see this on the Galaxy S7?
I don't know about magnesium alloy frame, but I think USB-C, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be an aluminum phone again with glass, which is nice. I don't think they should change that too much. I mean, the Galaxy S6 and that family of devices are beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think that I think USB Type-C is going to be the buzzword of the year for sure.
Yeah, it's such a lame buzzword too.
Yeah.
Can we call it something more fun?
From Sachin Bahal, will you guys be getting the iPhone 7, and do you guys believe that it won't have a headphone jack? Well, we've already addressed the headphone jack. As for if I'll get it, yeah, I won't probably make that decision until I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just because I cover the phones, I usually end up buying it myself anyway, so I probably will.
Well, that leads us to our next question.
Surprise. Oh, yeah.
From Jeff K. Awesome, Todd. Return anything lately? Seriously, though, any new toys you both have your eyes on?
I'm looking currently at new bags. I have a backpack I really like from Incase that was from the office. I think they sent it to us, and when I was in the office, I grabbed it. But now I'm looking for like a messenger bag to join it. So that's what I have my eye on in terms of gadgets, and that's because I was looking at stuff like the 6P, but they had them at CES, so I grabbed it there. What'd you get? New toy?
My Echo arrived.
Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah, I have that. Yep, also, I bought the Nextbit Robin, so that's like next, and be shipping mid of next month. So I'm excited for that phone. And other than a new sort of bag for my laptop, not looking at much. And I didn't return anything, but excuse me, two of the things I was going to return, the Nexus 5 and the OnePlus One, I ended up giving to my sister. They're going to travel, and they needed unlocked phones. So I was like, okay.
Good use.
Those were the two I was going to sell, but yeah, I hadn't done it. And I was like, oh, perfect. Take these.
Yeah, absolutely perfect use for those.
Yeah.
I'm starting to finally explore smart homing my house a bit. And the Echo is the start of that. And we'll just see where I go from there. I'm sure
Echo is sweet. You're going to go into like Philips Hue and stuff.
Wonderful.
I don't know. Don't do the Hue though. There's this LIFX. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lifex. I don't know. They make some bulbs, and they've been getting better reviews than Philips. And I wish I'd done that, because you don't need Philips. You need like this hub, and now they've updated the hub for HomeKit, and I don't have the new hub, and so I can't use HomeKit. And like these other LifeX bulbs are just Wi-Fi connected bulbs, and they work with Echo. I should have done that.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem with smart home is I'm trying to figure out, okay, now what works with the Echo, what connects with what.
Yeah, it's so hard. They make it sound like, you go into a Google I/O or a WWDC from Apple, and they make it sound like they have this one, like HomeKit and whatever Google's is called, Android Home or something, and like, oh, this is perfect, it's going to be everything. And it's not. Like, you go to build it, and then they, a month later, a new hub comes out, and a month later, new light bulbs come out, and you're like, this is a home. Like, these are not things that you replace every year.
Yeah.
You got to buy these things for long haul, so they should make it, a lot more all encompassing, in my opinion.
Completely agree. Completely agree. From Nate Vlogs, what carriers do you use? I love T-Mobile. After years of being with Sprint, I have moved my entire family off of Sprint and onto T-Mobile. And so T-Mobile is my only carrier, even though I carry 2 phones. But I'm T-Mobile only. Aren't you mixed still?
Yeah, well, I'm primarily AT&T, but I'm back using. I have never turned it off, but I just hadn't been using it. But I'm doing Project Fi again because I'm just getting used to the trip to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress. The 6P is Project Fi phone, so I'm back on that, which I like. I had to order a new SIM card; it just came yesterday. But otherwise, I'm primarily AT&T. My wife is Verizon.
Question from Jeff K, which applies to my life here. What shows would or do you miss on cable TV? I'm hooked on Impractical Jokers right now and cannot find it anywhere but True TV. Well, I don't watch Impractical Jokers, but I would for Brian Q. Deadliest Catch was the big one for me because Discovery has like no online presence except for clips. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So I worked that into my budget when I cut the cord that, I could buy X number of TV seasons a year.
Right.
And Deadliest Catch, I'm sorry, I'm so hooked on that show at this point after this many years. And, it's like the captains are part of my family. So, Deadliest Catch was the big one for me. And of course, like Todd was mentioning sports. Yeah, the only sports team I follow is Manchester United. And luckily somebody has helped me out legally, so I can watch Manchester United play. That's really about it, though. Everything else I pretty much find streaming. Is there anything you would miss, Todd?
It's sports, though. You can stream sports packages, too. No, there is nothing I'd miss. In fact, all the shows I watch now are on Netflix or Amazon. It's mainly because of recommendations that I've read from, heard from you or read that we're writing about on the site and stuff like that. I flip through it. I'm like, oh, like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I think we've heard about that. Like I've heard about that in conversations with staff, and then and then I'm like, wow, this show is so stupid. I can't stop watching it.
I know you're like, I don't know why I like it, but I can't stop watching it.
Right. So it's stuff like that. And then I watched, Man in the High Castle. Loved that. I watched Making a Murder. Loved that. I couldn't stop watching that. And then so everything I look for. Oh, here's my puppy.
Yep.
See her on the Skype call here. Yeah. I don't know. Everything I want is there. So I'm ready to ditch TV, and I'm sure we'll actually do it really soon. The thing is, last time I tried to, I live in an apartment building with like hundreds of units. And so they have these deals where if you're getting internet and the cable, it's almost like hard to cancel your cable. The same way that it used to be hard to cancel a telephone line. Actually, it still is. I think we have a telephone line. I don't even know where it is, but you pay for it for no reason. So it's kind of difficult. Like if you want the deal on the fastest internet, which I need for work, then I need to have some sort of cable package. It's really stupid.
Felicia Day, the actress and author and all that, she yesterday was talking about she wanted to up her internet package with Time Warner Cable, and they would only let her do it at the higher speeds if she took some cable channels.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, it costs more. It doesn't make any sense. It does make sense. It's just for them as a business.
Yeah.
Not for me.
From Jonathan Borgwing, do you think USB-C will enable tablets to compete with laptops as a desktop replacement, given software improvements and multi-window with Android N and USB-C's ability to use docks to expand functionality? Android replacing Windows over time? ? I think the whole problem with tablets is always going to be the physical keyboard. I think that's going to be the biggest thing because... And yes, I know you're mentioning, you can add attachments onto it, but then, okay, so now when I leave the house, I got to carry the hub, I got to carry a keyboard, I got to carry the tablet.
Right.
I don't know. I keep thinking tablets are on the verge of, taking a bigger bite out of computers, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. But you can look at this keyboard. This is one from Microsoft, and it looks like a little book, and then it pops open. Now, it's not easy to type on.
Right.
But you get used to it. But you know, if you carry this and a Bluetooth mouse in your phone, or I do sometimes, then I know, okay, I can do work if I really need to, and I don't have my laptop. You know, like I could really try.
Yeah. Try being the key word there. I think if the peripherals get better, I think it could happen. It's just a question of everything falling into place. It's not just the tablets, it's also the accessories, I feel.
Right.
From Princeton, what do you guys think of Project Astoria? I am not sure what Project Astoria is.
Yeah, I just Googled that. It was there. It was Microsoft's Android app emulation stuff. So like bringing Android apps over, which is cool. It just doesn't look like it ever really happened, especially for Windows 10 for phones. Like they were supposed to make this bridge to make it easier to bring all these apps over, and nothing ever happened to it. So
yeah. Let's see.
I mean, it reminds me a lot of what BlackBerry tried to do with BlackBerry 10.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the cheating man's way of getting more apps on your phone. From Dan Vogue, I think. If Apple is getting rid of the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, what companies do you think will make Lightning port headphones? Beats.
All of them. I mean, there's already one. I forget. They're like $500 or probably more, I think, that sells them. I think everybody all of a sudden would start making them because, you know, you go into a Radio Shack and I'm sorry. Once upon a time, you would go into a Radio Shack.
I was going to say, what?
But, you know, you walk into a store, like a drugstore, you're like, I just need some headphones. Like, what do? They're going to have Lightning ports or something on them.
Yeah, that's why I think there's going to be a lot of cheap adapters.
Yeah.
Let's see here. From Brazen Franco, since the V10 still isn't available here in Italy, should I just wait for the G5?
See, this is a tough one because I've talked about it before. The LG said when they introduced the V10 that it's like the higher end, you know, this V family is the higher end from the G4 last year. So it was G4, then V10 at the top, which made sense. It's more premium. So technically, I should say, you know, wait for the V20 or whatever it's going to be. And you know, if you're interested in the G4, then that's more what the G5 is. And I still feel like that's the way you should think about these things. But I don't know when the V20 or whatever is going to come out, right? Like, you don't want to wait that long. You want the G5. So I'd say wait for the G5 and see. If you're more of like, if you're like, oh, this is cool, but I don't like plastic, and the G5 ends up being plastic, then I'd stick it out for the V20 because it's probably going to have that, you know, stainless steel frame or whatever the V10 has. That said, V10 is a really nice phone. And I wish we'd covered more of it. It just sort of came out right before, like during Slam season when we were doing everything. So you might want to just see when that comes out in Italy, if it does.
Okay. From Alex Raskin, what is your opinion about Android Marshmallow? Seems smoother. Battery life definitely seems better.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I don't use Google Now for anything now on tap though. Like ever.
Yeah, my Nexus 6, I charged it up the other day to do some stuff, and it's been off a charger now for 48 hours, and it still has like half the battery life.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So, no, overall, I've liked Marshmallow. I don't think it was very much about the forward-facing changes this time, though. Right. It was much more about what was going on under the hood. So we'll see what happens with Android in. From Andreas Skotner, will iPhone 7 have wireless charging?
Who knows? It's one of those things where, like, you know, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be until we have a standard like that everybody uses, and like, because otherwise they're all going to go around doing Qi and PMA and all that stuff. And I don't know. I think Apple's sort of going to wait, you know, especially till it's good. I mean, look, Samsung did a good job last year with the Note 5 improving wireless charging speeds. But aside from that, I haven't seen any other mainstream handsets that are actually making wireless charging like fast and a priority the way they have with wired charging. So, I mean, to me, like if I'm sitting here at my desk, I mean, I can't think of a situation where I'd rather put it on the wireless charger. I guess at night, because I don't have to worry about the time it takes to charge. But I would always rather have it wired because it's so much faster.
Same here.
I mean, it just sounds cool. It seems cool. The idea is awesome. You go into Starbucks, you put it down on the table and it charges. You get in your car and it charges. But what good is that if you drive to work and you've charged like 3%? Like, look, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I still prefer wired.
Yeah, same.
From Jeff K, thoughts on HTC making the Nexus? I don't buy it, but I could see it happen. I've read the Huawei. I love the way he spelled that. 6P has been a good seller, so why would Google want to stray away from them so quickly? My feeling is that Google kind of bounces around and helps companies that need help when it comes to the Nexus.
Yeah, it seems weird. I mean, I don't know the full story on what they're doing to select, other than maybe they just go with one partner here and one partner there. I mean, they've used HTC and Samsung and LG and Huawei, and HTC was the very first one, the Nexus 1. So I'd like to see it again. I mean, HTC makes great handsets, but I don't know. I don't know that Google would be straying from Huawei. If Huawei felt that way, that would probably be a problem. But I feel like it might be what you're saying, Sean, like, okay, let's have somebody else do it now. Like, I don't think it's like this, oh, we left LG to make the next Nexus because we didn't think they did a good job with the last one, or we ditched Samsung. Like, I don't think that's how Google sees it. I think they're just kind of going around saying, hey, you want to make the Nexus this year?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they just try to spread the love around, basically.
That's my guess. I have no, I don't know.
From Jonathan Borgwing, how will Chrome OS and Android OS merging affect Apple's iOS and OS 10? I don't think it is at all.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about it. I mean, one day, I'd like to see it first. Play with it. It sounds like the Pixel C was supposed to be sort of that first Chrome OS tablet hybrid Android thing, but wasn't because it wasn't ready. So let's see how good it is, and then we can talk about it hurting iOS or OS 10 or whatever.
And we're going to go out on a extremely geeky question from Brazen Franco. Star Wars fandom question. On the new Star Wars canon, can I expect Kylo to become the Darth Caedus from the new non-canon expanded universe?
That went right over.
I know. I figured. Here's the thing. So far, Kylo is not truly a Sith, so we don't know if he's going to become a Darth at all. If he does, I think he's going to be Darth Caedus-like, but not necessarily Darth Caedus himself. I just sent... That was actually all in code, and I have just ordered a missile strike on your house, Todd.
Yeah, I think I just blacked out.
So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to make him a Darth or not, but I don't think they will ever use the name Darth Caedus. Anyway, that was a geeky way to close the show. So, as always, we appreciate you joining us. You can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, where we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on Pocket Cast. You can subscribe via RSS feed, or you can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next time, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of the site. I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next week, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.